we're bringing you all you need to succeed in the real estate business. It's Spilling the LT, brought to you by Lawyers Title, telling you what it's really like to work in real estate.
Welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about real estate investing in vacation homes. But first, I'm your host, Tamera Gaede, Director of Collin County Sales for Lawyers Title. If you love my content, you're going to really love my escrow team. So I hope you'll give us an opportunity to earn your business. My contact information will be included with this podcast. Please make sure to reach out to me and let me know how we can be of service to you. I'd like to introduce my guests. First off, I've got Shaun Schimmelman. He is the Regional Manager for Texas Tech Federal Credit Union. Total baller in lending. I think you guys need to give him a shot to earn your business as well, because he will take great care of it and take great care of you and your clients. I've also got David Russell with the Russell team at powered now by EXP Realty. And these are two friends of mine. We've been talking a lot about investing, not just in vacation homes, but just second homes, rental homes, short-term rentals, things like that. And I know it's of a lot of interest to the people that'll be listening to this podcast. So I'd like to dive right in and start talking about some of these things. Obviously, to me, it's a little bit selfish because I want the information just as bad as everybody else might. So thank you guys. Thank you, Shaun. Thank you, David, for joining me today. Excited to have you guys. You've been on before.
I have.
This is Shaun's first time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming today. By the way, thank you for always taking care of my escrow team. You reached out to one of my escrow assistants today, and she was thrilled, thinks you're one of the nicest guys on the planet, and so do I. So let's kick off with a little bit of background. David, do you want to give us a little bit of background on how you got here, how long you've been in the business, what you're up to?
Well, real estate, been in business as a realtor 16 years, this year, 16 years. About 12 years with Every Holiday, 2.5, 3 years with Compass, and recently moved over to EXP and started investing in rentals 8, 9 years ago, and then rolled over to what we call midterm rental and vacation rental just about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I know, because you're my mentor. You're the first person I called. And I was like, okay, what do I need to know? So I call you every time I want to know about something that has to do with
what not to
homes.
do.
Yeah.
You call me with what you don't want to do.
You go first.
Right.
And Shaun, let's talk about your background a little bit and how you got here.
Sure. Yeah, I've been in mortgage lending for 18 years now, finance in by itself for 25 years, and then really getting to the investment properties and capital investments and things like that the last 3 years. So it's been a long ride.
You're a busy guy.
Very.
Always got your hands in something for sure. Both of you. And so, obviously we've had a lot of conversations about investing in, David, you and I started talking about rentals, just regular traditional rentals. And then you guys moved into the short-term rentals here in DFW. And you've been telling me how much money you've been making off of those bad boys, trying to convince me to do it. I'm like, I'm not there yet.
It's been good. Can't complain.
And then both of you, I think you were first to go up to Broken Bow and start looking around, right?
It is because we got into Broken Bow because of you, and then because of Shaun. So you got us into Broken Bow.
I did. How did I do that?
You introduced us to Shaun.
Oh,
and
yeah.
said, hey, you need to talk to my friend Shaun about Broken Bow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of what we were doing here in Dallas. You said you need to expand to Broken Bow, and Shaun's the man to help you. And he was, and he is.
Yay, me.
Yep, that's right.
Worked out
all
great.
about you.
Worked out great.
Well, let's kind of talk about some of the things that I think, if you're not familiar with how to even approach investing in a vacation home, there's when I started looking at this, I had more questions that I had answers to. And so I know I've peppered you guys quite a bit with ideas, and let's talk through strategy and what am I need to look for. So is it a good idea to invest in a vacation home right now?
I would say yes. It's always a good time because property values have been going up. You look at any 5-year period, they're always increased, right? And so right now they say it's a seller's market, but I think it's really just as much a buyer's market because you're going to recoup some equity so fast with appreciation on these properties right now. And since 2020, people have been doing more short-term rental type of vacations more than they ever have. So you look at occupancy rates on VRBOs and different short-term rentals, it's through the roof compared to what it used to be prior to 2020.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with that. It's definitely, I say it's a great investment.
Do we think everybody's already in Broken Bow?
Hopefully not.
They're trying.
I know. I have several realtors in DFW that are investing up there. So, and not just there, other places as well.
Right.
But that, Broken Bow really, in my mind, became extremely popular when shelter in place happened. And right after that, people were wanting to still go somewhere, but they didn't want to go far, and you didn't want to get in an airplane and, be around people. And you go to Broken Bow and you got your cabin all to yourself, and you don't have to leave if you don't want to,
Right.
So it became extremely popular. It was popular before, but the popularity obviously increased because of that. And I think it's still an affordable place to go for a vacation if you've got a big family.
And it's close. It's 3 hours away.
Yeah, for sure. It's 3 hours from Metroplex. It's,
Complete different scenery.
Yeah, you have hills, lakes, rivers, trout fishing, a lot of stuff for kids to do, like the wineries are there, breweries, just go
I don't
hiking.
need the wineries to get a little
you can
bit
go,
better than they are right now.
Yeah, when you go hiking around, it's just kind of a little bit something out of the Metroplex element that's really close by.
Well, and there's been a lot of
really close by.
expansion too, right? Because you keep talking about the casino that's being worked on, and there's going to be more, retail and development up there. You've been talking about a few expansion ideas. I don't necessarily want to give them all away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the cat's out of the box with Broken Bow now. It's really kind of spreading around Metroplex pretty well, which is why it's renting out a lot. I first started going there on vacation 7 years ago. Like nobody even heard of it in Dallas. Yeah. And then even 5 years ago, no one heard of it. And then, like I said, recently it's just been booming, and all of a sudden the word's spreading. So yeah, it's becoming a hidden little gem that's really not so hidden anymore. And the casino's building a huge convention center there and a hotel that's outside of what they already have. Just a lot of expansions. I was just up there last week, and every time I go up there every couple of months, there's something new. There's a new restaurant. The bowling alley popped up since last time I went there.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, it's ever changing, and obviously the homes are amazing because it's like there's a lot of vacation spots around. You can go to Fredericksburg for stuff, but nothing has the cabins like Broken Bow does. These are high luxury, gorgeous cabins, or more simplistic if you want that. But it has a lot of outdoor aspects to go hiking, where you can't really do that, around Texas so much.
No. You don't. The topography is very different. The outdoor activities are very different. It's a little cooler than Dallas, which is a big deal, and the product, like you mentioned, Broken Bow is the Wild West right now. So any type of business that you can imagine, a community like Broken Bow or a vacation community like that needs, they have a need for it. Every single, it doesn't matter what business it is. There's a lack of infrastructure in every type of business that you can imagine, which is why there's now the axe throwing. There's 2 axe throwing places now.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
2 in a town that has a permanent residency of what, 100?
Yeah, there's outdoor mazes. There's bars. There's restaurants. There's one restaurant there that flies in their calamari every 3 days.
That's right.
And it's phenomenal.
Best calamari I've had in Dallas.
Yeah, it's this little
Had no
teeny place,
idea.
and you're like, why am I getting this amazing food?
It's funny, you've been going there 7 years. Lisa and I have been going there probably 10 or more, and we never stayed at I didn't even know those cabins existed.
Yeah.
Where did you stay?
We stayed at the state park.
The campgrounds, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
for those listening, you have to understand how David likes to vacation. It's a tent sometimes.
Not the way Lisa, my wife, likes to vacation.
Yeah.
Let's be clear on that.
Outdoor camping at its simplest.
Well, it was easy to, as realtors, we don't go weekends. You typically had one night a week, maybe 2, so we could pop into the state park, those little cabins.
Yeah.
They're shelter. They're not nice. It's just basic shelter. And we would go there kayak.
You've lost half my realtor audience.
That's a fact. Yeah, half that audience for
Actually,
sure.
probably more than half.
Yeah, most of these cabins now are nicer than our homes we live
Yes.
in.
They're high-end luxury.
High-end,
So
$1,
those
$2 million homes,
pictures-
a lot of them. They're gorgeous homes, right?
Those pictures you sent me, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
they're
there's-
amazing.
And now it's getting more creative. We're getting, because people are trying to build something that's a little bit different to catch some more attention. So you get people, some of the builders trying to do something different, and you could kind of push the creative envelope with some builders to make something more unique so it stands out. So you get some gorgeous houses building up there.
Okay, and I'm going to kind of dive into that a little bit later, but I want to back up a little bit. So let's say, okay, you've decided that you want to buy a vacation home. We're focusing on Broken Bow today, but I know you've been looking at some other areas as well. But you obviously have to find your people, right? You've got to find a realtor. You got to have a property manager. I would hope you would want a property manager. You know, you need companies that are going to help you set up the property, because you've got to fully furnish the property with dishes and sheets and towels and salt and pepper and all those things. So how does one go about, and then obviously there's a title company involved somewhere in all of this. How does one go about identifying their partners for purchasing their first vacation home in, let's say, Broken Bow?
I think key for me is if the realtor is really important.
Yep.
Right.
The realtor's always very important.
very important, because she's going to know if you're going into an area you're unfamiliar with. She's going to know maybe a lot of those resources for you. Because if you don't live there and you're trying to buy something, you know, I was in Hot Springs, Arkansas last week, checking out some areas over there. You know, I don't know anybody there, so I'm gonna have to go find a good realtor. And then, hey, do you have resources for a good management company and decorator that comes in and preps the whole house for you? And you know, if I'm going to build, who's the builder to go to here, right? And what are the samples? So I think that's always been my first step, is that realtor is very important.
Yep, totally agree. Once you get the realtor, the other thing, and this applies really heavily to Broken Bow, and I haven't looked at Hot Springs yet. Ironically, you mentioned that it is an area that I've thought about looking at, because it is fairly close to Dallas. But I think an area to help with that research is Facebook. There's a lot of Facebook groups for these different vacation areas, cabin owners.
I jumped on one. I mean, I found
You
one.
get a lot of insight when you get on those
you do.
Facebook page. You find out what services you might not want to use. You get recommendations for those you want to use. What are the trends? What are the problems? So I found that the Facebook pages up in Broken Bow in particular were incredibly valuable.
I found that to be the case too. It was really interesting because someone was looking for a realtor, and I, followed down the whole stream, to see who the common names were, because there's always going to be common names.
Yep.
And that's a good indicator of who's doing the best book of business in that particular area. So I think that's a great golden nugget. An easy way to start is to, if you're on social media, join some of these private groups for that particular area that focus on investing there. And that would be a really good resource for you to start to identify some of the people you might want to work with. So I think that's a great start. And you got something to add,
Well,
David?
and I think Shaun's point about starting with the realtor is really critical, and interviewing maybe more than one, because you really want a realtor that's going to give you some data. You need somebody who's data driven, not just trying to sell a house, but actually focused on data. But those that are going to give you an honest opinion of what's happening in the area, what builders to use, what builders not to use. So I think it's important that you really vet that realtor.
Yeah, I had a conversation with the one Shaun sent me, and I was asking all kinds of questions to all kinds of stuff. I've bought several houses here now, so I'm pretty savvy at identifying, what could be a potential problem with a property. And so it was kind of like, what's maintenance like? Do you have foundation problems? What's the soil like? That's a question we have to ask here. How are the foundations built? And then she shared with me a ton of information about, do you want a 3-bedroom or a 1-bedroom, and the difference in the occupancy rates. And then it was down to, you want a paved road, not a gravel road, because all the Dallas Porsches can't make it up the gravel.
That was one note, that was one comment that I read on Facebook in one of the private groups, is somebody who'd bought a cabin, had a Porsche or an exotic car like that, and they were rather upset when they tried to go to their cabin and they couldn't get to it because the roads weren't maintained.
Yep.
Part of that too is, Broken Bow is now separate. You got Hochatown,
Right,
which
that's right.
They emancipated last year, so now they're their own town.
Okay,
so
that's helpful, because I didn't really know that.
So most of that area I would call Hochatown, because it's all in Beavers Bend National
That's
Park, right? Yeah, Beavers Bend National Park's the whole You have Ho Chi Town is really that, to me, the good cabin area, and then south it goes into Broken Bow
Right.
really, and
Right.
and Idabel, right?
Yep.
But yeah, Ho Chi Town's really the town now because they kind of separate out, become their own towns. They can get taxes. I mean, one, they're going to try to maintain the roads and put
Yeah.
us a lot better road system, but also so they can support that area with more centralized taxes on it.
That's right. Is your cabin in the incorporated area now?
It's in Ho Chi Town,
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know everything, but you just say Broken Bow.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of like the
Everything's
whole, right?
Broken Bow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like kind of saying like Dallas, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
like that
know.
you-
People ask me
Right.
where I'm from. I'm from Dallas.
Right. Well, have they been? I don't think they've been assigned their zip code yet.
I don't know if they
It's
have
supposed
it
to
on.
be coming.
Yeah,
But
but at least they have the infrastructure there, and they're starting to build out, their game plan for the roads and different
That's right.
infrastructure. Yeah.
Well, because you were telling me about going to see a cabin out in Broken Bow, and that it was like riding a roller coaster because
Yeah.
the hills and
yes.
tell you want to tell that
That
story?
was. I don't remember this. It's Carter Mountain, but it's on the west side. Have you been there?
Mhm.
Where they poured a new concrete. You don't have a cabin there, do you?
No, not on that side, no.
Yeah, no. So that was, I was not a fan of that particular neighborhood just because of the incline of the hills. And I actually asked a couple of different people, property managers, and neither one of them are going up there. So you just have to be careful. You almost have to have feet on the ground, like you went out
Right.
to Hot Springs. You have to go be feet on the ground with the realtor and learn the different areas and what are the pros and cons. How far out? So in Broken Bow, Ho Chi Town, to be specific, do you want to have a cabin that's 4 or 5 miles down an unmaintained dirt road? That's a decision you have to make as an investor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have, some of those cabins are really high end, they're building them now 1.5 and up. And if you're 4 or 5 miles out in the country, what's around you and how easy is it to get there in the winter and during a rainstorm? Do you want that?
I thought that was, something really interesting to consider, because when you think of that area, you think of staying somewhere very rural, where you're by yourself and you see all the pine trees and all the all the beautiful nature and things like that. But you don't think about what does it take to get to that cabin in the middle of all the nature,
There's a reason all the property management companies have 4-wheel drive trucks
Right.
with tow hitches with winches on the front.
Well, but if you're thinking about an investment property, that's a serious concern, because not everybody who's coming to stay in your cabin is going to be driving a 4-wheel drive vehicle.
It's a factor.
Yeah. I think that's some of that stuff. It just seems so minor, but it's not. It's very major when you're talking about buying something there, or any kind of area like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we can step back too. And it's like, you got into short-term rentals. What's your take on the comparison between that versus like long-term rentals? Like, what's the benefits you see there?
Great question.
Oh, cash flow.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 to 4 times.
Broken Bow?
No, no. So we have the midterm rental where we rent by the month only, and then we have the short-term rental. So we have both.
Those are here.
Yeah. So we have the monthly rentals here, and they're furnished rentals. Those are 2 to 3 times, and then the cash flow up in Broken Bow. That's a complex question though, what you do on cash flow there, because it depends on what your mortgage package is, how you finance it.
I agree. Yeah.
And then what type of product do you have? Like Shaun has more luxury, high end. I have more mid-level in Broken Bow. And so the numbers are a little different on that. But we're very pleased with the cash flow on the mid-level product, if you will. It'll be double to 3 times what I would do on an annual here in Dallas
Yeah.
for the same investment, really.
I just want to get your perspective. That was mine. That's why I kind of got into that originally, because I have a property that gets a lot less traffic, a lot less wear and tear, because people are coming into it for a week or a couple days and they take care of the property. It's not they're living in it, so
Right.
they treat it a lot differently than if they're living in it, right? And then, like I said, you can charge a lot more per night because they're on vacation, right? And then to me, I've seen the same thing. The cash flow has been a huge thing.
And it's actually a property that, I don't know, we use ours a lot. I don't know if you go up to yours often.
Going to last year I was up there 5 times, and then this year twice so far.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're up there quite a lot. And it works out really well for us because with our schedule being flexible as it is, we don't necessarily block the time. We just go when it's vacant.
Sure.
Today, it's Sunday. We see nobody's going to rent it Monday through Thursday.
Right.
So you just shoot up there real quick.
Right.
So it works well.
Well, I think it's a great way to keep tabs on what's going on up there, right? That's how you are doing it.
Yeah, that's a good reason to do it. That's not our reason.
Sure. You're trying to take time away. I get it. So you brought up an interesting question. So, Shaun, I'm going to bounce this one over to you. Cash versus financing on these things. I mean, obviously, the viewpoint is if you finance, that cuts into your cash flow. But if you pay cash, you spend all your cash.
Yeah, I think it becomes on how liquid you are, right? And what your goal, your business model and your goal is. Because if I'm paying cash for $1 million property, and that's all I have, then I'm building one property. I'm getting good cash flow on it, and, from that property. But I would rather take that $1 million and build 6 properties with it.
Right.
And then I'm going to make tons more from a cash flow perspective. Even though I have multiple mortgages, I have cash flow for 6 properties versus 1.
That's how I look at it.
It's going to outrun it in a cash flow, and it's going to outrun it because I'm going to make appreciation on 6 properties versus 1.
Right.
I would always. My original mentor in finance told me, use somebody else's money.
Yep.
That was 20 years ago, and I lived by that. And I finance homes for people who are worth $500 million. People are like, why are they financing it? Because they live by that motto.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can use their money to invest and make more do it differently. So
Article last week, Elon Musk had all his California houses were leveraged.
right.
Richest man in the world, and he had mortgages, $180,000 a month or something was his mortgage payments.
I think it's smart to use other people's money. I do it all the time.
Right. But
Shaun gives it to me.
But yeah, I would definitely not pay cash for a property. It just doesn't make sense financially to me because I can look at it 10 different ways on paper, and it does not make sense to do that, to pay it in full just because I get a higher cash flow. But that's maybe your goal is only to do 1. But I would rather just keep building those, and then that cash flow, like my cash flow from mine goes into an LLC account. And as soon as I have enough for a down payment on another property, I build another property.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I just keep on doing that, and because I don't need the cash flow. To me,
Right.
it's building down payment for the next one, because I want to have so many X amount of properties in 20 years that are all paid off. And at that point, I have a massive portfolio of investments that are cash flowing like crazy that I can either keep or liquidate some if I want it, or leave to my kids. But that's my goal for it, But I think you're definitely going to be better from a cash flow perspective using that amount of lump sum money to build as many as you can versus building 1.
So, we're going to finance, right? We're not going to pay cash. And then what does it look like? What does somebody need to have prepared to put in an offer and want to go under contract on a house? Or what are we talking about, down payment and things like that?
General market, if it's their first one, they can probably get away with a second home if they plan on going out there. I think the requirement's like 10 days a year or something. Then they can do 10% down. We do have some in-house products with our company where we can do 10% down on investment properties where no one else can really do that. But Fannie Mae requires 20% down for their investment properties. Freddie Mac requires 15% down. So you can get away with that. So
it's a nice little chunk of change on a $1 million property.
Yeah, it can be a nice little chunk of change. So a lot of my investors will leverage me because they want to use the 10% down on investment properties because they look at it like that. I'd rather save my money and use somebody else's money to do that. But then you have to crunch some numbers, with your balance sheet to make sure that with the mortgage, the management fees, taxes, insurance, like everything you put into that house, that it's making money for you, right?
Yeah, we looked at one the realtor had brought to my attention. It was an existing property. I'm looking more turnkey. I don't have the bandwidth to build, but we were looking at the numbers, and I had asked her. I said, "Well, what's the net? What is the net on this property?" And she told me a number, and then she said, "But that's before this, and this." And I was like, "Okay, well, what's the net?" And she goes, "Well, this is the net, but you still got this." I'm like, "Do you know what the net is? Do you know what that means?" It's like, how much money did this person get deposited into their bank account once everything was done?
Challenge with that is she's not going to know.
That's right.
She has no idea what kind of mortgage they have on that property. They could have had it paid off. They could have had
Well, I would think that they would be disclosing most of that, right? At least, what do people have to disclose about?
No.
Nothing.
None of that.
Occupancy rates, night rental amount per night.
They usually will tell you all that, and they'll give you the management company's rental breakdown because they want to try to sell it. This is how much it's renting.
Right.
You can get all that, but they won't tell you any of their personal expenses, on the property.
And you don't know what write-offs they buried into that.
Yeah.
So really you have to look at it at a high level. This is what and you have to be conservative on occupancy. And that's a trend I see on the Facebook groups up there specifically, is people are concerned about occupancy rate, and that indicates to me maybe they're over leveraged. So you have to be really careful on what occupancy rates are, and then you back into the number, and this is what it's going to cost me for utilities and property management, et cetera, and then can you live with that estimated net?
Right.
But it's all driven by occupancy and rate will vary based on occupancy. The lower the occupancy, the lower the rate will go. So people are typically seeing 60 to, I've read 85, 90%, depending on the type of product they have up there. If they built their budget on they have to have 75% and then they drop down to 50% occupancy, they're going to change their nightly rate to get that.
Yeah, that was something that was interesting, and I didn't really necessarily ask her to deep dive into it, but I had some more questions about it. She said that this one particular property had qualified to be bumped up to a different rating cabin that would qualify it to ask for a higher nightly rate.
Yeah.
And so is that something that's set by them? I can't say how much I want to charge.
Well, that's set by the management company, but most of them will work with you on their own pricing. They'll negotiate, say, hey, this is what we suggest. Are you okay with it? Or you can just say, you do what you want to do if you don't want to be hands off. But they set that with their portfolio. If they hit a certain rating, they bump the price up because occupancy rate is high. So then, hey, we can charge a little bit more for this cabin because it's still renting out.
It's in demand.
Exactly. It's in demand. So they see one that is like that and they'll bump the rate up on it. And they try to keep pushing that envelope till they find the sweet spot, right? This is the max I think I can charge to keep this good occupancy rate, right? And then that's what
It's a
they're doing.
balance, right?
Exactly.
Rate and occupancy. So in the luxuries, the rates are typically much higher and the occupancy typically a little lower.
Right.
Than on like a mid-level what I have. So we're typically around 70%. Some of the big cabins run 50% because it's mostly weekends.
Right.
Just
But
very different rates.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a
they're
different
charging
clientele.
they're charging a huge different price
That's
point
right.
because you have 5 families maybe sharing that.
That's right.
To afford it. But then since you're charging that much more, your break-even days to a lot less.
Yep.
Okay, so what should you expect to pay a property manager up there?
But there's anywhere from, I've heard 10% for a hybrid up to 30%.
What is hybrid? Hybrid what?
So they're managing the marketing, they're managing the bookings, you're managing the maintenance and the cleaning and that kind of stuff.
That sounds terrible.
So
I'll be real
it's
honest.
a job.
I don't want anything to do with that.
No.
Yeah, because if you don't live there, doing the self-managed or even a hybrid is challenging because you got to find that person that's going to do that for you or stay
And
on
make
top
sure they're
of
not
it.
going to go in and steal everything.
Right. And with
It's those 10 o'clock calls. The
you
gas grill won't light, or the heat went out, or something. What do and you're trying to find somebody. A property manager has somebody on staff 24/7.
That's the last thing I want to deal with.
Right.
Like to me, a lot of the management companies they charge anywhere 25 to 30%, which seems like a lot, but when you don't have any of the headache, and they balance everything for you. A lot of them they have different policies where they can certain things they cover, certain things they don't. They'll let you know, hey, we have to do this, and you cut that through your fees, but. To me, if I was just doing one cabin, maybe the hybrid would be something I could do. But when I plan on doing 10 to 20, I don't have time to do any of that because I want to just have somebody else manage it for me, and that fee is well worth it to me. Plus, it's a tax; it's part of your write-offs. Anyway,
Oh yeah,
so,
it's quality of life. You have a full-time day. You're grinding during the day.
Right.
You don't have time to take that phone call. Why doesn't the fireplace come on?
Right.
And that is why, kids, I turned over all of my properties as a property manager here.
We don't do our other one. We manage our other properties here locally, but up there it's just too much.
Well, I think it's really important I feel like to kind of stay in my lane, right? And I'm an expert in what I'm an expert in. You're an expert at what you're an expert in. I ain't trying, I'm not trying to be you, and I don't want you to be me, and we'll all work together. And it'll be great, right? I think a property manager up there is a solid idea. I mean, when I brought on the property manager here, Chris Oleg, he's awesome, and has taken really good care of my properties. You know, it came down to, you don't even think about even some of the little things like the bookkeeping and stuff. So,
Right.
you know, I got my little 1099 from him at the end of the year. I have a login to his account. I can pull up each one of my properties. I can see every dime that's been spent on all of the properties. And I don't have to track that stuff or keep up with it myself. And so for me, it was even just little benefits that I didn't even think about like that, above and beyond, oh my God, the water heater broke again. Can you get a plumber out there? Right.
Right.
So I enjoy deferring those sorts of things to other people. But I know that there's people out there that do want to do it themselves because in some way they feel that they're going to be able to capitalize bigger.
Well, I think whether you're in Broken Bow or Hochatown or Hot Spring, it doesn't matter what geographic area you have a short-term rental in, having a property management team, they have the depth of the service providers that you don't have. So even if I had 2 or 3 electricians, and I ran into this trying to do something on my own up there, I had 2 electricians, neither one of them could do the work that I needed done in the time frame. The property manager had 10. And I just called them. I paid a little bit more money for it, but it just makes it a lot easier when you need something done at the cabin or at your rental,
Right.
regardless of the geographic area.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that the water heater busting was the defining moment for me. And I was like, yeah, and I'm done. We kind of tapped into this a little bit, and I'm curious about it too. Are we going to see a downward trend in occupancy rates in Broken Bow? I mean, it skyrocketed in popularity during the pandemic, right? And so now as things are opening up more and people are feeling more comfortable to travel, do we expect to see a downward trend in people wanting to go up there?
My opinion and the data I have is no, not for the immediate future, mainly because Dallas has grown 300,000 people a year. That's adding to that population growth. Plus, it's not only gaining popularity, but it's filling up, and the builders can only build so much, right? There's only so many builders out there. There's not a lot that are coming in from outside of there. There's some contractors, but you only have so many builders there. They can only build. They're building a lot, but they can only build at a certain capacity, which I don't think that they're going to outrun the demand. And especially with some of the occupancy rates, I think there's still plenty of time to do that. I always compare Broken Bow to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So
Where, Tennessee?
Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Gatlinburg.
Gatlinburg, Tennessee, if you Google it, it's a lot like Broken Bow, but it's probably 30 years ahead of Broken Bow. And it has amazing cabins, infrastructure. It's kind of like, it's like Broken Bow and Park City put together, right? And it's a really pretty place, but it has no population draw. Like everybody, there's nothing within 6 hours of it. Like you can fly in and drive, and it's a middle of nowhere kind of thing, and it is booked out all the time. And it doesn't even have this population of a huge metroplex within 4 hours.
Just close.
Like it's one of the few gyms that has that, because that's why it's the number 1 VRBO spot in the nation right now, because it has this massive influx of metroplex people that can be there within 4 hours, and it's something unique. So I don't think it'll get, plus they're adding more unique things. They're building out casinos and a lot of other ventures that people are looking at doing out there. I just think the draw is going to increase, and I just don't see the builders outrunning that demand anytime soon.
Short term, I think long term, I agree with Shaun. It's going to continue to go up. Short term, we're going to see peaks and valleys. There's going to be.
But that's true. And
that's everywhere.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be big shifts in what people are renting and what they want up there.
Okay, that's my next question, so don't spoil it. I mean, that is a good question. I mean, what do people want when they go there? So as an investor, we've talked about the 1-1 being kind of a no bueno kind of idea just because the cash flow is not there. And you need to consider the families going up there, kids. There's a lot of houses with multiple bedrooms, multiple bathrooms, bunk beds. If it doesn't have a hot tub, you don't want it. Or you better be prepared to buy a hot tub. So let's talk about what people want when they go up there.
I mean, hot tub's a necessity. Fire pit. I would never seen a cabin that have a hot tub and fire pit.
Yeah, I know. I have not either.
It says that's required.
Yeah.
Right? Just because that's part of that environment. And then, like I said, the if you're renting, I mean, when we go up there, we're looking for a nice space. I'd love one with a creek on it or water close by, something kind of fun for the kids. Some of them are on ponds, some of them have creeks. That's kind of neat. But you can always go to the lake and go to the rivers for fishing, but some people just kind of like that. And we talked about, a lot of people like the cabin look, right?
We were talking about that today.
You have the old school cabins up there that have been there for 20 years. And you have the ones like 10 years ago. You can tell when it was built because it changes the demand. Now it's like this Hilux cabin hybrid.
I saw one
right?
that looks like my house
Yeah.
in Salina.
Yeah, something the French country style,
Yeah.
wood with the white in them.
Yes.
And there's a lot of those going up because they kind of, the French country. I have some plans I'm looking at that are a little bit different. They're more like a mountain ski lodge type of design. It's a little bit different than what's up there because I'm trying to look at something different.
And see, I really like that idea a lot. I don't know about renting a place that looks like my house.
So that's
On the inside,
No.
is what I'm talking about.
That's interesting because I ask everybody that sees ours either online or they've been there, what do you think? What kind of cabin are you looking for? And they want something unique. They don't want to go stay typically in a cabin that's like their house. And now for some people, they want that high-end luxury. That's not what they live in every day, and they're doing a family reunion or something, and that really works. But I think what's going to be more popular is as we see more build out with cabins, is the more unique the cabin is, the more it will rent.
For sure.
Okay, so
If it
what
looks-
is unique about a cabin in Broken Bow? What does that mean?
So it has there's something up there with slides inside and out of them.
Inside, right? There's
inside
one-
and
Do we
outside.
really want to
Right?
Oh yeah.
build a house with a slide?
That's because
in the
it's-
middle of
cabin
it?
is slam
that-
booked.
That cabin we're talking about is like occupants for 24 people, tons of kids.
Yep.
So I've seen some that are building out with the bunk bed rooms have bridges in them that go across, all netted in, and they're just making it so you look at it, you're like, wow, that's really cool because they want to go somewhere different. It's like.
Okay, do you need additional insurance?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, one of the very first ones I stayed in 7 years ago, it was a brand new build, huge cabin, and they had in the advertisement a big slide from the second deck down to the fire pit. And I got there and it wasn't hooked up. I'm like, hey, I thought the slide deck, no, the insurance wouldn't allow it. So I think that was their policy, or they didn't want to pay the extra fee for
Right,
it. Was probably
right,
more likely
right.
than the insurance company not doing it, because they will, but you got to pay a high
Right.
premium for it. But the thing is, like we get back to, is the niche. What makes yours stand out from the pictures? What does it have? I love huge showers in mine. I like them to walk in, they're like, the shower's 3 times bigger than the one they have in their house. Like something exotic, or big kitchens. Open floor plans to me really go well because vast windows in the back that look out in the trees, nice deck covering, outdoor fireplaces to me is a big thing.
But unique. The more unique it is, and that was one thing that the property manager told me, is the more unique the cabin is, the more it will rent. Whether you like it or not, it's not your house. It may not be you may own it, but it may be a cabin that you would never live in, but it's unique and it creates demand. People want to stay in a unique property.
But I can see that being really easy for a new construction property. But if you're looking for something that's an existing property, more turnkey, the stuff that I've been seeing that have come on their MLS is not that.
But not everybody wants the high-end luxury unique property. Some people want to go to that cabin feel. So then that becomes a location. Where's that cabin at? Is it close to the infrastructure of everything going on in Ho Chi Town? Will it be close to the casino? That's a game changer. We don't know how much yet. But how far are you from the casino?
Do we know where the
everything going
casino's
there?
being built?
It is.
It's right now.
Yeah, right now it's just north of
259.
Ida Bell, like going into Broken Bow
Yep.
area, so kind of between the town.
It's right at
Okay.
And they're building
259.
a new grocery store and stuff that'll be up there, so you
Yep.
don't have to go clear back to Ida Bell to get your groceries and things. So
That's already there. The building's there, that
Yeah,
small one.
yeah.
North, that's up by where you're building. But the casino will be a game changer because they're going to have an outdoor venue. They're going to have restaurants, shopping, and it's 800 acres they're developing for that casino. It's not a big casino, but it's going to bring a lot of different opportunities, different infrastructure things to do.
And I understand that. I was just trying to, you guys had been talking to me about what makes this, the cabin that you're looking at different. And I was having a hard time trying to pinpoint what that might be with some of the ones I'm seeing coming online.
it's a hard answer because it depends
Yes.
on what do they want, right? It's not everybody doesn't want the cabin feel. Everybody doesn't want the French country. Somebody likes more of a modern style. Seen some that there's a couple of them that are really modern.
I guess maybe the best question for the property manager would be, what is renting out the most? What does what do these cabins have?
Well, that data is available on AirDNA.
Oh, I forget. I always forget about
You
the
can go to
website.
AirDNA and see what size cabin rents, and you can pull a lot of data. What the good property managers are going to have, they're going to have inside information, if you will, about what's the feedback they hear. The numbers will tell you one thing, but one of the key things you want in a vacation rental is repeat business. If you're always trying to find new guests, then you're going to struggle. If you have a lot of repeat people coming back, you want to build a following, if you will. And I think you're going to do that by having a quality product at a great price, but trying to offer something a little different, like Shaun's doing with the super luxury. Some of the things we're doing will make a difference in time on the cabin that we have. And I think that to your question is, you have to try and do something different there than everybody else. So at one point, no one had hot tubs. Now they all do. They didn't have outdoor gym sets, whatever they're called, with the slides and stuff. So people are constantly ramping up the amenities at their cabins. So when you buy one, if it's pre-existing with a consistent trend of bookings, what can you do to make it better? What can you add to that cabin? What amenity can you add?
Yeah, there's one with a basketball court out back.
Yeah, there's one. They just built a court by a cabin we have. Somebody built a pickleball court or pickleball.
Pickleball.
They have a pickleball court.
So just trying to make it where because a lot of people don't want to leave the cabin and go into town, or it's not really town, but they don't like to leave the cabin. And so that way they have all the amenities there they keep the family
I think that's
busy.
part of what makes Broken Bow is that you pretty much don't.
You don't have to leave.
I have to leave to go eat the pizza place because it's the best pizza I've ever had in the country.
Right.
Really?
Pizza coast to coast.
Okay, so
it's
have you
amazing.
had pizza at the Mountain Fork?
Yes.
Mountain Fork or Grateful Dead? I haven't had Mountain
I
Fork.
like Grateful Dead.
Okay.
So Grateful Head, actually.
Yeah.
Grateful Head. They actually put one in Hot Springs, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they put a second one over there.
So I just saw that little debate taking place on Facebook recently. Mountain Fork.
Mountain Fork's good, but doesn't touch.
Grateful Head's better.
Head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Beer's better at Mountain Fork. But anyway, so I mean, that's one of our kids, even they love it. But, the band's on the weekend outside and stuff. So it's a fun little atmosphere. And over by the brewery, now they have a band out back there, all the decks and stuff. So it's really neat. Yep. But yeah, like I seen one cabin up there, we're talking about uniqueness, that has a purple marbled floor through the whole cabin, bright purple.
That's interesting.
And that cabin is slammed.
And it is always booked. You look at it, you online, you look like you're looking at it's a 60s type.
Yeah. It's like
very
you think
psychedelic
Prince
colors.
lives there.
Yeah, but it books because you never have that in your house, but it's unique.
Okay, purple floors. Got it.
The stranger, the better. And when we met with the property manager that we're using, that's one of the things he said. The stranger, the better.
Yours is Irish theme.
Yeah, has an Irish name. There's a little Irish theme there, but luck of the Irish is what
Shaun's
it is
got
now.
giant showers. You've got
That's right.
the pool.
Right, we have a pool now.
Yeah, the theme it goes a long way. The one that I have that's about a month away from being done is called Winterfell. And after Game of Thrones, right? Because on
You
the
got
back,
the producer laughing over there.
we have a big
thumbs up on that
we have
one.
a big white creek behind our cabin, and there's this big white tree. And the first time I saw it, I was like, look, the Game of Thrones tree.
Yeah.
So we call it a Winterfell, and so we have a whole Game of Thrones theme. Like I have wolves all over in the cabin. It's all a lot of that kind of look.
Yeah, which would be. I mean, people will go there because it's themed.
Yeah.
And they want to be in that environment. The kids will be in the back playing swords or whatever.
Right.
And
then we're building on the other side of the creek. We have that lot where the fire pit is. We're building a playground that looks like a castle.
Yep.
So that's going to be out in the trees.
Of course you are.
So that's just like things like that.
That's the uniqueness, right?
Yeah.
That's the uniqueness.
There's cabins of that same size all up and down that road, but his is unique with the theme, and people will go because of that theme.
Right. Haven't seen any of those on MLS either.
And even like the one that's being built right now, it's the builder told me, he's like, you have the biggest shower in Broken Bow. Like it has 2 masters on the bottom, and they're 6 foot by 13 foot showers. 2 overhead 4 foot rain showers.
It's a good thing you have a property management company handling that.
it's a lot. I mean, but that's, to me, those are the wow factors that I look for.
You got to have a wow factor.
So before we wrap up, in case you don't want to actually do the purchase and investing in Broken Bow, you have an alternative for people, Shaun. You want to talk about that?
Sure. So I started a capital investment company 2 years ago. So what that is I raise capital and then I build vacation homes with that capital, right? And so some people they can't go and build it, or they don't know how to do that, and maybe they don't want to get into an investment property. Maybe they can't from a debt load perspective, or maybe from their financing, they can't do that, but they want to get in on it, or they just want to say, here's some money and I want to return on it.
Right.
So a lot of time that's what happens is they're like, okay, here's an X amount of dollars. And then that money goes toward a down payment on, say, one of the cabins I'm building. And then I build a cabin, and they get that percent of appreciation return every single month. And I do a yearly guarantee on that money. It's actually 12%. So they actually get a pretty good return on their money. And then they get that percent of whatever they put down is the value of the home. So say it's $1 million property, they put $100,000 down. They own 10% of that cabin. They have a lien on the cabin, so they own that percentage of it, and then they get that percent of appreciation. So then they get their values, money's appreciating, plus they get mailbox money in every month.
Who doesn't like mailbox?
Right? So that's what
good.
I do with that. So and I have
Yeah.
multiple investors that do that because that's what they want to do.
Yeah, it's a great way to get stick your toe into
Right.
investing with minimal effort.
And I work it up where they can have so many vacation days a month in the cabin if they
Oh, you
want.
do? I didn't know that. Okay.
So we work that all in depending on, that's kind of ad hoc how they want it. Say, I want to go be able to take, I want 8 days a year up in the cabin when I go up there, and then we work out how that impacts their percentage, because you're using a loss of rent, but they still, cover that. It comes out of their return, but still they're able to do that and have a little piece of it, get a good return on their money. Because you can't get 12% on the stock market with this year.
Oh, the stock market.
So plus you get a return, and I'll give them options. Hey, I'll give you a 5-year and 10-year buyout option. So say at the end of 5 years, you're wanting out, then okay, here's your check of your percent of ownership for the whole cabin based on that value at that time, and you can walk away.
Love it. I'll make sure that your information is included in case anybody wants to reach out to you for that, or if they need help financing their new Broken Bow investment property.
Of course. I just put a big billboard up there. It goes live.
You did?
April 1, yeah.
Oh, nice.
The big digital one.
Yeah.
So it'll rotate up there, but it's like, why rent your vacation home when you can own it? And so a lot of people come to me because whether it be a cash flow or they're just a niche product, they're having trouble getting financing. We do a lot of in-house stuff with the credit union. So
That's the in-house is huge. I don't think people really fully understand how important it is to be with a lender that provides in-house portfolio lending. There are always unique situations where the conforming loans just doesn't work.
Right.
And when you have somebody like Shaun who can look at it and shift you into a different product and get what you want, especially with investing investment products, it's fantastic.
I agree.
He did ours. I'm glad he did.
yeah, and I do loans coast to coast. I have one guy that's a president of a mortgage real estate company, lives in Pennsylvania. He owns his own mortgage company and title company, but he comes to me for his properties because I can get a better deal or less money down.
It's
than
always
his own
funny
mortgage
to me when
company
you
can
tell
do.
me stories like that.
And it's their own, he has the option, but he comes
Yeah.
to me because he's like, I want to put 10% down on a $1.4 million house in Florida where he can't do that himself
right.
for his own company.
That
Yeah.
portfolio lending is
Yeah.
huge. People just don't have a full appreciation for that.
And a lot of people just don't fit into those standard boxes,
Right.
whether
That's right.
whether it's even for your primary home,
Or they don't know about them.
or they're self-employed and they can't get financed anywhere else because they write everything off. They take advantage of taxes, or they've been self-employed under 2 years. Those are things we can look at from a portfolio standpoint.
Okay. Anything else that we need to touch on before we wrap up for today? I think we did a good job.
Buy an investment property.
Yep, and then we'll title work through Lawyers Title. They're
Yeah.
amazing. They get all my work.
That's
so-
exactly right.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you, Shaun, for
Thank you.
joining me
Thank you.
on another episode of Spilling the LT. Again, I'm your host, Tamera Gaede. Thank you for joining us. Again, if you like my content, you will love my escrow team, so make sure that you give me an opportunity to earn your business. Go on to all of my social media platforms, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll make sure you know how to reach these two for any investment advice. Thanks for joining us today, and make it a great day.